today. It has been a year since my previous address to your prestigious forum. I'm sorry that we have some technical problems to begin with, but I'm hopeful that we can continue in a good note. I have actually spent some time putting this address together, and I was really looking forward for this opportunity to communicate. My greetings to the members of the United Planetary. I hope we have all been able to notice the influence that derives from that speech as it pertains to matters of common interest. I must confess to have been relieved in noticing positive developments in issues affecting all of us. And yet, unfortunately, some of the problems are still with us, affecting our lives and our communities. In a personal level, I have just experienced the loss of some family members, and while cherishing this opportunity of communicating once again, it reached me at a very difficult time. So I beg your indulgence if I seem a bit abrupt at times or even concise. And now to business. I have been with a sense of wonder. It is with a sense of wonder that I have noticed the developments taking place around us, especially as it pertains to banking. I was hopeful for the impact that could be anticipated from our collaboration regarding the exchange of information, and yet found myself pleasantly surprised by how much can be accomplished by people of goodwill when working in cooperation with each other. Among other things, it was possible to establish common blockages across geographical areas and even species. It was also possible at the time to identify the pursuit of poverty as a common thread in sabotaging economies and financial structures. These conspiracies, by necessity, also affecting the political as well as spiritual and religious structures as well. And yet, in analyzing the roots of the problems, it is in the securing of food and in the disregard and arrogance of some in the labeling of other individuals as appropriate food items guiding the efforts. I have personally funded research in recent years towards securing a transition in the direction of vegetarian diets, avoiding the anxieties associated to the effects on the health of those species with a history of exclusive meat eating. And yet, support has not been forthcoming despite my efforts. This initiative was exclusively for their benefit. I managed a transition from meat eating to a vegetarian diet without regrets almost 20 years ago. On making inquiries regarding the financial blockages and even the pursuit of widespread poverty, I learned there are means of ensuring the capacity to influence the shameful trade of the flesh of our compatriots, hidden cause of the blockages in our banking and financial system. I was naive in my hope that fixing the planet's financial problems would free us to accomplish more effectively in other areas. It turned out that the local problems were interconnected with the greater economic structures around us. Yes, now we have individuals more like-minded, but the problems we need to overcome are more over-encompassing than originally anticipated. We thought fixing the economic problems in the planet was possible in isolation with a greater picture, and no, it isn't. And yet, there seems to be a sense of perspective among all of us that was lacking before, and brings progress towards a better life closer. It seems clear to me that those that consider their neighbors' food items, effective as they are in their efforts to destabilize our areas, are not really the principal problem. The will to feed themselves is itself life-affirming. It is my understanding that the principal problem would have surfaced from a conviction against life itself, while the meat eaters turn out to be a convenient and frequently unaware ally. A few months ago, it took me by surprise to get such enthusiastic reaction to a speech I was asked to write, and from the space community, not least. The title of the speech was The American Dream, and it relates to a concept full of the will to uphold dignity and respect among other values. Many of us were moved by the realization of a sense of empathy with this notion from our space neighbors. And today I can own up to the hope that the dream of a better life is one we can all share on. And I believe it is a dream that can be brought from dream to reality by our shared efforts. The American dream brings forward the values that have inspired our people across generations. I would like to read this quote in verbatim. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. I had included this quote before, and I had a very positive reactions to it. These words that have been carved in stone in the monument by the name of the Lincoln Memorial were original part of a document entitled The Declaration of Independence that was adopted in the year 1776. The dream of having the right to life implies health and suggests at least the need to be able to take care of ourselves. Health requires hopefully access to healthy food, and taking care of ourselves generally requires a job where our work would pay for our shelter and other necessities. Sorry. I need to take just 2 minutes. Sorry about that. Liberty is more difficult to define, but I would like to be guided by the Universal Declaration of Human Rights that was adopted by our United Nations some time ago, in the year 1948. The preamble reads as follows: quoted verbatim again. Whereas recognition of the inherent dignity and of the equal, inalienable rights of all members of the human family is the foundation of freedom, justice, and peace in the world. Whereas disregard and contempt for human rights has resulted in barbarous acts which have outraged the conscience of mankind, in the advent of a world in which human beings shall enjoy freedom of speech and belief, and freedom from fear and want, has been proclaimed as the highest aspiration of the common people. Whereas the people of the United Nations have in the Charter reaffirmed their faith in fundamental human rights, in the dignity and worth of the human person, and in the equal rights of men and women who have determined to promote social progress and better standards of life in larger freedom. I must say that even though I find these words inspired, they are somehow restricted inasmuch as they pertain to humanity to the exclusion of other species. I am one of the people that realize the need to consider the other species in the planet in this context. This notion I had already brought forward in my song Diversity, included in full with my previous address to your prestigious forum a year back today. The specific lines that are relevant here read as follows. The dawn of a new era could start when the rights to respect and dignity apply to all species. Now, back to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The Article 1 of that declaration reads as follows. All human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. They are endowed with reason and conscience, and should act towards one another in a spirit of brotherhood. In trying to better deal with the notion of liberty in this context, I did some further research on the meaning of the words liberty as opposed to freedom, and came across some definitions in the World Wide Web. The following quotes are from Globelight, mostly by Mr. Murray Rothbard. Liberty, living in liberty, allows each of us to truly enjoy our freedoms. Out of liberty, then, stems the glory of civilized life. The exercise of liberty is affected by capability and limited by the rights of others. And finally, thus liberty entails the reasonable use of freedom under the rule of law, without depriving anyone else of their freedoms. It is important to facilitate the realization that even when within a culture of upholding human rights, there are circumstances where rights can be curtailed legally due to unlawful or criminal or even terrorist activities, both by individuals or even nations. The pursuit of happiness, a concept that some of us relate to the rights to take care of ourselves and our families with dignity. Some of these notions we have discussed before under the heading liberty, and there is clearly an element of overlap. As I stated before, it was the unexpected reaction that was generated by my speech entitled Nora Rasenti on the American Dream that has shaped most of the present address. I was led to believe there could be an interest in gaining some insight, if nothing else. As I mentioned in the speech, the dictionary defines the American Dream as the national ethos of the United States, where the word ethos means national philosophy. Further in this regard, President Obama stated in one of his speeches, "We want these dreams for more than ourselves. We want them for each other." And I further this notion, hoping these dreams we want for each other are not limited by the American borders, but include the well-being of every other person in the planet, with a will to wish for these fundamental rights. I had hoped some of us realize it should not be the physical American land we strive to share, but some of these values that we are even further encompassing under the ambitious heading, universal. And I would say, yes, we could even include our neighbors in space, if it is their will to reach out for these values, for themselves, in their communities. Finally, a last very important issue that I would like to bring to your attention, the healing of black holes or sinkholes in space, issue where I am one of the stakeholders that made a meaningful contribution. This situation has surfaced unexpected spin-offs that profit all of us. The possibility of restoring some of the destroyed stars to health. So it was not just a consequence to stabilize the external environment, but the actual possibility of restoring some of the stars to health brings the hope of restoring at least some of the splendor of our night skies. And it's something that we can all hope for, to look forward to. This development is certainly uplifting and should bring us hope. Regardless of these developments, I remain concerned for our future in the realization that the same intelligence that brought the black holes to us could be looking for new elements to destabilize our space environment. In that respect, it has come to my attention in the recent past that some have engaged in efforts towards damaging the stability of the universe itself by sabotaging the integrity of its magnetic fields. It is to their credit the efforts of the responsible communities that have found themselves forced to monitor and secure our safety from this new threat. We have been lucky to have them among us. I put my confidence in the scientific community once again towards efforts to come up with strategies to assist this situation and neutralize this danger that we share. Some of us have the conviction some of our enemies could collapse the sky itself if they could find a way to get it done. I am one of the persons brainstorming towards securing our environment. And I also remain hopeful that we could be a positive influence in such negative mindsets yet. Yes. The future is full of possibilities. I look forward to the opportunity of reconnecting with you all next year, hopefully in happier circumstances. I beg your indulgence, it wasn't the best of times these few weeks. In view of these attacks on members of my family and close friends. But I was looking forward to putting the address together, and I'm hopeful that it has proven informative and helpful. My references, if you wish to refer to them, it was Nora Rasenti addressed to the United Planetary in 2018. Nora Rasenti on the American Dream, which was a speech I wrote this year, 2019. Then there is a document I wrote on black holes that I think could be useful as a reference. It's in the library system. It's called Nora Rasenti on Black Holes and the Health of the Universe, and I compiled a document also in 2019. And finally, I did some research in the World Wide Web, the Internet, a space called Globalize. On that note, I wish you all a good year, and I hope that we continue to strive to build a better environment for us all in our future communities. Too short.